Breaking relationship cycles of relationship trauma. That is what we're going to talk about today. And trust me, so many people have grown up in relationships and in families where there's so much relationship trauma, divorce, infidelity, financial crises, pain. If you haven't subscribed, you want to do that because we have so many helpful videos. And if you have a question, put it in the box. Well, how do you break these cycles of relationship trauma? I think the first step and the most important step is first to write them down. Look at your family and look at the different types of neglect. Emotional neglect, physical neglect, the neglect of your gifts, which a lot of times is unseen. Physical neglect, not being taken care of medically, not getting proper clothing, okay? Social neglect, not putting you in things where you can learn about different things of life and social stuff. Sexual neglect, where you get no sexual information and then you go make a bunch of sexual mistakes. Yes. What about the other side? Abuse, physical abuse, where you're hit, emotional abuse, where you're called names or you're spoken to very abusively, like an object, like a thing. You'll never amount to anything. You're worthless, stuff like that. Being told what you are in a negative way is emotional abuse. Sexual abuse, of course, 1/3 of women, 15% of men have experienced some of that, and most of that is inside of a family, of one family member or another. Spiritual abuse can happen as well. Spiritual neglect. Spiritual neglect is, you don't know anything about spirituality. Spiritual abuse is it's being used against you to not help you guide your life or your intuition, but to control you or to make you feel small or ashamed. And that's not the purpose of spirituality. Financial abuse, you having to give all your money to your parents. There's different ways of doing these kinds of things. So the easiest way that I like to break this down is for someone to do what we call a genogram. It's relatively simple. Get a piece of paper and you put mom and dad in the center and you list out anything that you think they got. And if you have mom and dad and second mom and dad and third mom and dad, you want to just kind of keep putting them as a cross, because in that case, divorce is a relational trauma. Multiple marriages can be a relational trauma. Okay. So right next to them, put any of the stuff of emotional or physical abuse or the abuses, the neglects that you've experienced from that person individually. Okay. And maybe some of the things they've experienced. If they were abused, neglected, that could be helpful. Then also look at addictions that they have carried. Alcohol, drugs, sex, food, work, pornography, whatever it is. Put those addictions there. Why? Because when you're addicted to something, you're spiritually and emotionally and morally about 14 years old or 12. So you're not making moral decisions. So you grew up in an environment where no more moral decisions of right and wrong were there. There was no spiritual real guidance, okay? And they're emotionally immature. So them going off on you would be very common because they are immature emotionally, because of the addiction, because of the undealt with abortions, neglects, their family of origin issues. Now you can go up the tree, go to grandma and grandpa and do the same thing. Go to your siblings and go sideways and see what's going on there. Because some trauma is sibling to sibling. There's rivalry, there's hatred, there's abuse, there's trauma. Okay, there's sexual abuse, there's stuff that goes on sibling-wise. And look at that and just see what you come up with as far as the cycles. And it might be like there's a cycle of poverty, like everyone in your family is broke, or everyone's so focused on money they're not happy, or there's patterns of having affairs, there's patterns of hidden money, there's pattern of secrets, there's patterns, it can go endlessly. What kind of things you can experience with your family of origin, their family of origin, and the extended families, aunts and uncles. You can take this out and make this genogram as big as you want, but then you can see patterns. Divorce might be a pattern. Prison might be a pattern. Abandonment might be a pattern. So you look at these, look at addictions, look at the things that are there. So number one is you have to identify the relational traumas that you've experienced and that actually look like they're familiar to your family system. Okay, maybe not being educated. That could be part of a relational trauma, not believing in yourself. Everyone having low self-esteem, like they're not worthy of advancing in life. They think poverty is a high moral value. There could be the ways that you've celebrated holidays or not celebrated holidays or birthdays, traditions that were unhealthy, boundarylessness, in relationships, yelling, screaming, cursing at each other, having unhealthy people brought into your life because of your family. All the things that can go on there. Number one, you got to identify it. Number two, you need to look and evaluate what has been traumatic for you. Because not all dysfunction is trauma. And once you look at the things that are specifically traumatic to you, because your brother and sister might look at it differently, the things that hurt you, the people that hurt you, I would suggest, number one, after that, so you got identify. Number two, specifically to you. Number three, do anger work on anything you think you need to. I got a great book called Emotional Fitness. It can walk you through how to do this. You identify, you write a letter to that person that you never, ever, ever, ever send. Read it out loud to yourself. No one else is involved in this process. Number three, get some kind of padded bat or racket. Use a mattress. Practice warming up a little bit. And then go ballistic. Let that anger out. Say and do whatever you got to do to get out of your system. And then there's another book called Forgiveness for Everyone, where you can go through that process and forgive. And I went through this for weeks because I had so much generational trauma. Divorce was in the family. My mom was greatly physically abused. I was never experienced physical abuse, but there were other neglects. Poverty was in my family, all kinds of things that I had to look at and address. So I did my anger work. I did my forgiveness work. The fourth part is establishing healthy boundaries for what you can have in your life. And number five is you creating a self-care life that you actually do. Eating reasonably well, exercising reasonably a good amount of time, getting a good amount of sleep, keeping your spiritual life healthy, keeping your relationship and your marriage healthy. There's a great book called Intimacy, a 100-Day Guide to Lasting Relationships that can help you have a healthy marriage. It goes through the structures of marriage and how to build those structures and how to maintain those structures. But your self-care is ultimately going to reflect to you if you do think you're worthy of a good life, worthy of good, healthy relationships. And if worthlessness is one of the results that you have, there's a great DVD series called Worthy. It's a DVD series with a workbook, and you can work through that. And so you will have impact from the trauma. But if you stop it, you can learn tools and skills that if you've passed anything down to your children, you can help them get through it. Or you can actually not duplicate it if you haven't had kids yet, by being healthier yourself. No matter what bullet shot you in your life, you're responsible to push that bullet out and to walk healthy again. Now, if you need counseling, we're here for you, 719-278-3708. And you might want to do that just to make sure that things are good. All right? Like if I'm going to do investment in something, I want to talk to someone who's made money investing. If I want to be psychologically healthy, I want to talk to someone who went to school for that, who was training for that, who can help me with that. And I would encourage you to do that. If there's resources that apply to you, get those resources, read about those resources, watch those videos, okay? And look for people who are successful in areas where maybe because of the relationship trauma, you're weakened, and get stronger in those areas in your self-care development. Well, I hope that this has been helpful for you to maybe break those cycles. I named my son Jubilee because his dad broke all the curses. I'm a recovering alcoholic, recovering drug addict, recovering sex addict. I never met my dad. I was put in foster homes. I was sexually abused. And I dealt with all of that stuff way before he was born. Okay? So I know what it's like to walk through what I'm talking about. And so does my counselors at the Heart Dark Counseling Center. Everyone's been trained by me. They know how to do this kind of work. Trauma work is what we do every day. So please talk to someone who knows what they're doing. Take care of yourself. Evaluate this. And I hope this has been helpful. If you haven't subscribed yet, you probably do want to do that right now. And also, if there's a question, put it in the box, and hopefully we'll see you again.